Ahoy there! Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another episode of the Catskull Academy, the series that aims to give you all the information you need to get started in EVE Echoes. Today we're going to be looking at strip mining, as a lot of you guys are now hitting tech level 7, which is about the time that you can start flying the Retriever, which is this absolute behemoth that you see on screen now billowing flames. Badass looking ship and an industrialist's dream. This thing is just awesome, and we're going to be covering this and strip mining in this video. Now if you do enjoy this video, let me know by hitting like on it, sub to the channel for all things EVE Echoes, ding that notification bell so that you never miss an upload, and let me know in the comment section down below what topics you want me to cover in future videos. If you do want to go the extra mile to help support this channel, you can do so by coming and finding us on Patreon. Details are on screen now. That said and done, let's talk about strip mining and the Retriever. Now, it's hard to talk about strip mining without also talking about the Retriever, as this is the first ship available to pilots in New Eden that is capable of actually doing strip mining. You'll find this one under the ore ship tree, which stands for Outer Ring Excavation, and if we go up the second line, which is technically the battlecruiser line, but they're not battlecruisers, they are industrial ships, you'll come across the Retriever. Now, before we jump in too far on this one, what actually is strip mining? Well, strip mining is, it's basically emptying an entire asteroid belt of everything it has without any form of consideration of what you're actually mining. Whereas a Venture parks up in front of an asteroid and mines it specifically, so you choose whether you're going for crocite or spodumene or whatever the heck it is you're going for, you purposefully mine that one asteroid and you harvest it as quickly and efficiently as possible. Strip mining is the not fussy, just want the belt gone approach. Ultimately, you park this at one end of a belt, you slowly drift down, and you just harvest everything in range. You don't lock onto asteroids with strip miners, you just drift and harvest everything that's in range. Now, this means that ultimately a Venture 3 is still the most efficient mining ship if there is one particular type of ore that you're looking for. If you only want crocite, then a Venture 3 is still going to do that faster. You find a crocite asteroid, you will empty it faster than a Retriever can. A Retriever is only going to be good at getting crocite if every asteroid in the field is crocite. Otherwise, you're just going to be getting everything without being picky as to what you actually receive. Now, the Retriever, as I said, is the first ship actually capable of doing this whole strip mining thing. You should note here that it has this roll bonus of +1 max strip miners. That is a little bit confusingly worded. I understand that some people think that that means, well, it's got 2 high slots. Does that mean I can fit 3 strip miners on here? No. This is kind of like the Covert Ops Cloak or the Shield Field module and things like that. You can only fit strip miners to a ship that have that +1 max strip miner bonus. A lot of people were asking me, can I put strip miners on a Mammoth? No, the Mammoth does not have that +1 max strip miners fitting. Hopefully I'm drilling that in enough that people stop asking. Strip miners only go on a ship that has that bonus. Now, looking at the other roll bonuses here for the Retriever, you can see it has a +1 warp stability, very, very nice there. Ultimately, you're not going to rely on just that one, as believe me, if a pirate spots a Retriever in a belt, it is the primary target 9 times out of 10, and most pirates will be carrying at least a level 2 disruptor, something that has warp jammer strength of 2 or higher. So we're not going to rely on that +1 warp stability, but it does give us a little bit of a starting point to go with. You then get bonuses for, of course, strip mining, plus 10% strip miner yield. It's worth noting strip miners do not get bonuses based on any mining skill that is not explicitly strip mining. Mining does not affect strip mining, just as strip mining doesn't affect mining. Now that means if here you've leveled strip mining up to level 5, you'll get a 50% increase to the strip miner yield. Below this, we then have Advanced Industrial Ship Command. For each level that you have in this, you get a plus 10% drone EHP, up to a total of 50%, and a 5% increase to ore hold capacity, again, up to a maximum of 25%. Yes, if we look down here on the basic info here, you can see that the Retriever itself has a standard cargo hold capacity of 900 meters cubed, but like the Venture series, it has a dedicated ore hold of 24,000 cubic meters. And again, you can increase that by 25%, and take that all the way up to 30,000 cubic meters by having Advanced Industrial Ship Command leveled up to full level 5, which, quite frankly, if you're going to be running one of these beasts, you should have. And it does have some really cool skins. I just want to pause quickly and say that Pay Dirt Prospector, I love how beastly that looks. I'm not a big miner, but you know what, I'll actually get out into a belt with one of these if you get me that skin. Find out how we get it. So anyway, we've gone over the trait description there. Let's have a look at the attributes and fittings. Now, it does have 2 drone slots, which I think can launch small or medium drones, and of course you do get a bonus there to drone EHP, theoretically 50% extra effective hit points on your drones. Don't bother. Seriously, if someone comes up to you and locks you down and tries to kill you, your drones aren't going to do anything. What you think 2 drones with no other damage bonuses are going to kill off some pirate in whatever ship they're flying? No, it's just not going to happen. All they're going to do is lock onto the drones first, destroy those, laugh at you, and then continue ripping your retriever apart. Fitting drones to a retriever, as far as I'm concerned, is just artificially inflating the bounty for anyone who destroys it. But there we go. You also have 2 high slots, 2 mid slots, 3 low slots, and then 3 of each of the power grid and mechanical rigs. Quick point actually, sorry, talking about drones, eventually we might get mining drones. They're not in the game yet, they are a thing in EVE Online, so who knows, maybe one day we'll get those, at which point, yeah, okay, having drone tubes and a drone EHP bonus kinda makes sense. But anyway, yeah, so that's the fitting otherwise. Now, defense-wise, this thing has a beastly 10,586 hit points. Most of that is in structure, 3,693, but there is a decent wallop of it in shield at 2,872. Armor's not too shabby either, 1958. If you are going to lean into any form of tank on this one, shield tanking is the way to go for it, simply because you don't really want to be focusing on hull tanking, simply because, well, yeah, if that fails, you're kind of dead. Ultimately, as with any mining ship, the idea is going to be see pirate, run from pirate, but this does buy you a bit of extra time. If you've been using Ventures, then looking at that defense there, I'm sure you're a little bit like, wow, okay, actually, that's quite tanky. Does come with some downsides though, notably a signature radius of 128.9 meters. You cannot miss this thing. It is huge on the scanners. Pirates can lock onto you very quickly, and most weapons will have no issue at all dealing their maximum amount of damage to you. You do have a decent scan resolution, but you're also very slow at 168 meters per second, a whopping mass there, and an inertia modifier of 0.5. This thing is kind of like a grand piano out in space. It does not align or move anywhere with any form of hurry. This likes to take its time, which, in fairness, is a bonus to the retriever. You don't want to get from one side of an asteroid belt to the other in seconds. You need to take your time to maximize the amount of duration that you are actually mining the individual asteroids on your route. But okay, that's enough about looking at the retriever. Let's talk about actually fitting this one, because there is a standardized fit that I would wholeheartedly recommend on this one. Now this time around, there are 2 big shout-outs to give. Firstly to Yoyoy, who is our head of industry over at Rocks and Stocks Industries, which is kind of the Catskull Cartel's private shipyard and industry wing. He's the guy who actually has built this ship and shown me how to fit it and talked to me about how best to run this thing, but also a humongous shout-out and thank you to Suskai. This ship was coming from RNSI as a special delivery to Suskai. He has patiently waited a little bit of extra time so that the ship could come via me so I can showcase it to you guys in a video first. So humongous thanks to Yoyoy and the crew over at RNSI for building this, and thank you to Suskai for your patience. This ship should be with you by time you're watching this video. Now, in order to fit this thing, obviously, as I said, Yoyoy has given me kind of a standardized, this is what you'd kind of expect to have fitted onto one of these, as it gives a nice balance between both the efficiency of the ship itself and its ability to do its job, plus the inevitable required survivability. Now, in regards to the ship actually doing its job, obviously the first thing we need to look at is the strip miners that you fit to it. All strip miners are essentially the same thing. You're not going to put anything in this top slot other than strip miners, whether you go for Mark 5, Mark 7, or something like the ion diode ones, which are the storyline level gear, and are ludicrously expensive on the market. Kind of is up to you and how much money you have spare. I would start off with the Mark 5s on the Mark 7s just because they're nice and cheap to begin with. You can then go up from there as you get used to this ship. If you do end up losing it early on, you learn from your mistakes, you come back and you can start fitting it a bit better as you get a bit more comfortable with it. Mark 7s to me fit a nice middle ground here. You can see good mining amount there, 579 meters cubed. That is of course with no skills relevant at all, as it probably surprises none of you. I'm more used to shooting at these things than I am at flying them, but there we go. Talking on efficiency as well, the rigs we've got here are all minor circulation accelerators. 3 of these, activation time adjustment of 20%. Yes, there is a penalty for using these, but we've gone over it using the retriever. It does appear to be best and most efficient to go with 3 circulation accelerators on one of these things. So that's just our basic numbers. If you go for 3, that does seem to slightly beat out 2 accelerators and 1 of the efficiency rigs. Here, activation time adjustment is just, it's faster, you harvest more as you go, and you clear those asteroids that little bit quicker. Very beneficial. Now, on the subject of survivability, there are 2 aspects that we need to look at in regards to the retriever. First of all, remember it has that warp core stability of +1. Well, we are fitting 2 aura warp core stabilizers as well. These essentially apply an additional +2 to that warp stability, cold, having them fitted. So having 2 aura warp core stabilizers applies that warp jammer strength -2, plus that +1 warp stability gives an essential stability of +5, meaning that any pirate who tries to lock you down needs a warp jammer strength of at least 6. That is 3 of the faction level warp disruptors on one ship, or 3 individual ships, each with a faction level. That's very expensive at that point in order to lock you down. Now, if, in rare situation, that actually happens, you can then activate these warp core stabilizers for an additional -2 each, taking you from +5 stability all the way up to +9, which would suddenly mean that a pirate who wants to lock you down needs 10 warp disruptor strength, and that's just an insane amount in order to lock a ship down. Yeah, theoretically you could go for 3 of these, and you could go into like adding extra warp core optimizer rigs into the rig slots, but quite frankly, you're probably never going to come up against someone who has that much warp disruption, and if they've got that much, well, it's kind of an inevitability at that point anyway. If they're bringing an entire fleet to lock down one retriever, you're never going to escape. If they've got that much, they're going to have enough in general anyway. You don't want to completely neuter what your ship can actually do. This also brings us to the next point, which is general survivability whilst you actually move out of the field. Now, the 2 ways that we've done that here are with, first of all, an Imperial Navy damage control. If you've watched my video on tanking, you should understand what a DCU damage control unit does anyway, but just as a basic here, it gives you an 8.23% resistance increase to all of the damage resistances on your shields, armor, and structure. That's just for having it fit, and then you can activate it, and for the next 13 seconds after activating it, those bonuses are increased by 800%, which is absolutely incredible. That's like 64% additional resistance across the board, which really makes you not take much damage at all as you're warping away. That 13 seconds should be enough time for you to warp away. Looking in the power grid rigs though, here we have 3 core defense field extender 2s. These apply an additional 25% bonus to the shield, and there is no stacking penalty for using 3 of these. So that's basically a 75% increase to the shield, and you'll see here if we go back to the defense page here, that pushes the shields up to a whopping 5,026. That takes a long time to cut through, at which point, once they're cutting through that, you can apply the damage control unit for additional EHP, makes you very, very survivable as you reach warp and escape. Mid-slots, again, I don't recommend actually fitting anything into any of those. There's no real need. You don't need a stasis webifier, you don't need an engine Nosferatu or anything like that. Simply, you're not sticking around to fight. So there's no point putting drones in until they add mining drones, at which point applying a couple of those, probably not a bad idea. The only mid-slot I would accept putting in here is stasis webifiers, simply because if you've got 2 or 3 retrievers, you can actually lock onto each other, web your friendly retrievers, which reduces their maximum velocity, and by reducing their maximum flight velocity, the 75% required to achieve warp is thus lower as well. So you can kind of have 3 of you, or 2 of you, just 2 of you, heck, with 2 webifiers in that slot. If someone appears in your belt, you lock onto the other one, you apply both the webifiers, and you both achieve warp much, much faster. Now, of course, as with anything, it's all very well and good me talking about this ship, but let's actually showcase it in action. Now, the first rule of using a retriever in anywhere other than HiSec is you need to have local open at all times. You should be able to scroll up and down your local list and get an idea on how safe or how dangerous your environment is. Here you can see there are a couple of grey pilots around, so I do need to be careful. Grey pilots, of course, in nullsec are a threat. They could be very damaging, they could be someone out there in a stealth bomber, or all kinds of things, so we do need to keep an eye on those. What I'm then going to do is pick an asteroid cluster. I'm going to warp in at least sort of the 35 kilometer mark, because I don't want to come in on the jump point in case there's a pirate waiting. You see, a little bit of an align time here. Takes a long time then to slowly set yourself up, start actually powering towards warp. This is where you would have your damage control unit activated if you are trying to achieve warp to escape a pirate. As you can see, takes a long time to accelerate to that 75% before warping away. Now even here, 1.75 AU still takes a little bit of time to reach actually to a decent AU per second warp speed. Finally we'll start jumping into that belt. Now takes a long time. Slow moving ship. I mean, especially compared to something like a Venture. But here we are, into the asteroid belt now. You see we are at a fair distance from any of these here. We're quite safe, there's no one dangerous in this system at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a direction here and start drifting towards that, because we want to start moving towards those asteroids. Again, keep an eye out on your local. Theoretically, you want to be on the other side. What I might actually do here is instead start approaching this planet and see if that will bring me closer to any of these asteroids. Obviously, I've only got a 15 kilometer range on the actual mining, so we're going to need to slowly move towards those. And believe me, as I said, slow moving ship. Yeah, you could put like a micro warp drive or an afterburner on here, but quite frankly, it's not going to do you much in the grand scheme of things. It's probably better just to keep nice and steady. Use the information available to you. Don't use the extra slots just being impatient. Mining is ultimately a patient game. It's not the kind of high rush, high adrenaline activity like PvP or PvE is. It's going to take time. It's going to take some getting used to, and a bit of patience in order to do it. Here you can see I am slowly drifting towards that Crocite asteroid. I am going to skip the video ahead until we're in range. And we are finally in range of some asteroids. Holy heck, slow-moving ships are the bane of my life. I cannot understand how people manage to do this, but hey, that's me as a frigate pilot. Anyway, I'm going to zoom the camera right out here so we can see things a bit more effectively. What I do at this point is I pick a decent point in the distance that I can jump to. In this case, it's going to be the gate here, TPG-DD 0.3, and I'm just going to hit approach on that. The reason here is that by approaching it, I'm already aligned to my warp point as I'm moving. I can then open up my engine speed here, and I can set that to about the 75% mark of what I want to achieve. The reason I'm doing this is so that I am a slower moving ship. That's actually 81% that I moved it to. That's fine. It's a slower moving ship at this point. That means I can quite happily drift through, harvesting the belts as I go. Let's make sure that I am again aligned to that point there, because the game doesn't seem to have updated my alignment. Thank you. I can now activate both of my strip miners, and you'll see I've got nothing locked on, but I will start to harvest from every asteroid within the 15 kilometer region around me. That's quite a few different asteroids you can see there. Crocite, Pyroxeris, Hedbogite, Dark Ochre, all of these things are going to be getting claimed as I start to drift towards that gate. Now, I just drift. I drift slowly. As long as I'm at 75% or higher, I can instantly, or near instantly, warp to that point. It takes a bit of setting up to make sure that I'm aligned to a distant point and at the correct end of the belt, but it does mean if someone were to come into this belt and try and rob me, try and blow my ship up, it is nice and easy for me to just, if I have the structure point open here, and remember it's TPG DD003 that I'm staring at here, I'm there. I'm harvesting rocks, I'm drifting towards that quite comfortably. Or hold filling up. Obviously it'll go faster and faster if you've got better skills than I do. But if someone jumps into the belt here, I can activate my damage control unit, which straight away, you'll see here, if I open up the fitting menu, bam, takes me all the way up to 37,297, and you can also see that there is now an alert in local here that there is a purifier in a local belt, so I am straight away now going to hit warp on that point. The asteroid sadly has knocked me into a different position, but we should be able to warp quite comfortably because we're already near that top speed. And there we are, I've achieved warp, but I can activate those 2 auras in case anyone did show up in my belt, because there's a purifier around and those things are a little bit scary to deal with if you're in a strip miner. And I can slowly now, well, I say slowly, it's warp speed, but it's a slow warp speed. I can now escape to the gate, and if needs be, that allows me to jump system. Obviously, the best thing to do is if you are in system with a station, set the station as your point, because you don't have the danger of getting to the gate and finding that there's actually already someone already there. That in itself is kind of concerning. But once we've arrived here, we're going to warp through the planet, because of course we are. Once we're here, I can now see it's relatively safe around, there's no one here in local. That allows me to then hit dock, or rather wait until I reach a low enough speed to realign. I can then hit dock onto the station, and you'll see it's a very slow little turnaround here to get me back and facing the way I need to be. There we go. And I can warp straight back to the station and the security that ultimately it's a nice safe place to run to is what I'm trying to say here. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by local chap flying a trash ship that can just be killed off with drones. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm not going to risk that. I know, again, that brings up the discussion of should you use drones on a retriever? You can. I don't recommend it. Just run. Don't risk it. Just run. Because heck, all it takes is for that guy to sit there and go, right, I'm just here to lock you down. I'm just here to lock you down, and actually I've got 2 friends nearby who are going to lock you down even more, and suddenly the drones aren't enough. Or heck, if it's just that someone manages to lock you down first time, and you say, well, okay, I'll fight with the drones, at which point 5 of their friends warp to their position and finish you off. Anyway, here we are, finally pulling up to the station. Let's dock to safety. I don't really want to lose Suskai's ship to a pirate here in our home system. That would be bad. But hey, we're going to send out the defense team now and take him out. So then, what skills are going to be useful to a budding strip miner? Well, of course, under industrial technology and under mining, you will find the strip mining skills. Remember, as I said earlier, mining skills do not affect strip mining, just as strip mining does not affect mining lasers. So let's have a look at what the strip mining skill actually does. Well, as with any skill, you can level this up to 5, and at skill level 5 you will have a 50% increase to your strip miner yield, a 25% increase to your strip miner optimal range, and a 10% reduction to the capacitor requirement for your strip miners as well. Now, unlike mining, where ultimately you kind of park yourself in the face of one rock and just go for it anyway, strip mining, that optimal range actually does make a difference, because it means you catch more asteroids as you're drifting through the belt, and just absolutely and pulling those apart. The idea there is that that additional yield and that additional optimal range means you're hitting more asteroids as you drift down that belt, harvesting everything in your wake. Now, of course, talking about drifting, if we go all the way back across to cruising technology, then Industrial Ship Command, especially the Advanced Industrial Ship Command, are going to be useful skills as well, because these reduce the inertia modifier and increase the industrial ship velocity of all of your industrial ships. This means you fly faster, or theoretically can fly faster, but it's that inertia modifier that is the important part of that skill. You can still set yourself at the 75% speed, as you saw me set to 81, and you can then just turn and align that little bit faster as well. So if I did hit that gate and discover that actually that's being guarded by pirates, crap, I need to get out of here, having that additional inertia modifier reduction would allow me to turn around and walk back to the station just that little bit faster. Of course, there are things also like under maintenance technology, under defense upgrade, you do have industrial defense upgrade. This is a useful one that just increases the amount of shields, armor, and hull that your ship has. And again, you can take that all the way up to expert, at which point it starts becoming percentage based. Excellent if you're out in nullsec and getting targeted by pirates a lot, just because those additional shields, armor, and hull allow you to escape that little bit more frequently, at which point, you know, you're a little bit safer. You don't want to lose one of these ships, especially with its ore hold absolutely full to the brim of ore. If you're flying a retriever, you need to understand that you have a whopping big target on your back. People will destroy them just for the fun of it, let alone the fact that it can be an incredibly lucrative target. I won't lie, in EVE Online, I have flown around in a frigate Wolfpack, with a mammoth nearby. We go in, we blow up the retriever, the mammoth comes along, picks up all of the ores, and then we all fly off together, laughing on our merry way. It's a faster way of mining, and it gives you the additional mineral of salt. And there we have it. That is strip mining in a nutshell, and how to use your retriever. Obviously, the retriever is just the first of several ships that you can use for strip mining. If you look up the ore ship branch, you can see that you get the bestower and the exhumer beyond that, which are kind of like the Venture 2 and the Venture 3. They do the same thing, but slightly better, and can be upgrades further down the line, but they are tech level 8 and tech level 9 ships, so they're still a ways off yet. Retrievers are going to be one of the mainstays that you see in mining belts for a long period of time. They are expensive ships, so make sure that you're looking after it, and it will look after you. The amount of ore that this thing can harvest and bring in is astronomical, but as I said, it is an incredibly lucrative and popular target for pirates, so if you're in anything 0.4 or lower, you need to be watching your back at all times. Never go AFK with a retriever. Never, ever, ever. That is just asking to be destroyed, and believe me, pirates like me will be laughing all the way to the bank if we manage to target you and destroy you before you even actually acknowledge our presence and slowly turn to a line away. It happens all the time. Don't be that guy. Anyway, folks, I hope that does answer all your questions in regards to strip mining, how to use it, how the retriever works. I know a lot of you have been asking about this now that we've hit tech level 7. Hopefully that covers everything you need to know. Let me know how you're getting on with the ship. If you've got a variation on how you fit yours, let me know. If you've got a kill mail already on your first retriever kill, I haven't managed this yet, I'm still looking, show me that in the comment section down below as well. Otherwise, folks, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.